a vital note before we journey into the past. I am Orion, a lifelong researcher of evolutionary biomechanics and historical anatomy, not your personal clinical physician. Our mission today is to explore how the environments around us may influence mobility as we age. Always consult your trusted healthcare professional before making major changes to your routines, especially if you have difficulty getting on or off the floor. Every body is brilliantly unique. Right now, wherever you are sitting or standing, I want you to perform a simple observation with me. If you are seated, keep both feet safely supported. Press your elbow gently into the softest pillow or sofa cushion near you. Notice how the surface gives way beneath your pressure. Now, if you can do so safely, move that same elbow to a firm, stable surface, such as a sturdy table, and press with similar force. Do you notice a difference? On the softer surface, your arm may feel less stable because the surface moves beneath you. On the firmer surface, there is much less movement beneath the point of contact. Your nervous system receives a clearer signal about where your body is meeting the environment. This simple difference points toward a principle scientists call ground reaction force. The force a surface exerts back on your body when you apply force to it. It is a constant conversation between your body and the ground beneath you. And yet, every night, many of us dramatically change that conversation. We lower our aging bodies into deeply cushioned, highly engineered mattresses. We have been told that more softness automatically means more comfort. And for some people, it certainly can. But what if comfort and support are not always exactly the same thing? Here is what current research suggests. Age alone may not explain every morning when you wake up feeling stiff or restricted. For some people, the surface they sleep on may be one factor worth considering. To understand why, we need to step back into the history of modern comfort. In the 19th century and afterward, elaborate beds and mattresses increasingly became associated with wealth, luxury, and social status. A deep, plush sleeping environment could communicate that a person had escaped many of the physical demands of ordinary labor. Over time, industrial manufacturing made increasingly sophisticated forms of cushioning available to ordinary households, and eventually, the language of comfort became intertwined with words such as orthopedic, pressure relief, and support. But here is where we need to be careful. There is no single mattress that is scientifically ideal for every human being. Some people sleep better on softer surfaces. Others feel better with more support. Body shape, sleeping position, age, personal comfort, and existing back problems can all change what works best. So the real question is not, are soft mattresses bad? The better question is, does your particular sleeping surface give your body the balance of comfort, pressure relief, and support that you actually need? Research examining mattress firmness and low back discomfort suggests that, for some people, a moderately supportive surface may be preferable to a surface that allows excessive sinking. But that does not mean a hard surface is automatically healthier. The goal is balance. When you lie on a deeply conforming mattress, your body sinks into the material, and the forces acting on your body are distributed differently than they would be on a firmer surface. That does not mean you are deprived of ground reaction force. The mattress is still pushing. The important difference is how that force is distributed, how deeply your body sinks, and how easily you can change position. For some people, excessive sinking may make it harder to move comfortably during the night, or may leave certain parts of the body feeling poorly supported. And that brings us to the stiffness many older adults notice in the morning. It is tempting to say, "I'm getting older. This is simply what happens." But that may not be the whole story. Sometimes, morning stiffness may reflect the interaction between your body, your sleeping position, your mattress, and how easily you move during the night. That is a much more useful idea because it gives you something you can actually experiment with. And you do not need to throw away an expensive mattress tonight. In fact, I would strongly advise against making a dramatic change simply because of this video. Instead, we begin with a small reversible experiment. If getting down to the floor and back up is safe and comfortable for you, tomorrow afternoon you can spend a few minutes lying on a firm yoga mat on the floor. But if getting onto the floor is difficult, unsteady, or unsafe, skip that experiment completely. You can make the same comparison using a firm, stable surface that you can safely get on and off. The purpose is not to toughen your body or prove that hard surfaces are superior. The purpose is simply to notice. Notice how your body feels when the surface beneath you gives way. Then notice how it feels when the surface provides more stable support. This is your first small step toward becoming more aware of the mechanical environment surrounding your body. You may have spent a great deal of money on a mattress labeled Orthopedic, but the more important question is not what the label promises. It is how your own body responds to the surface night after night. And beneath that question lies an even more fascinating part of human anatomy, the remarkable network of connective tissue known as fascia. Think of fascia as an intricate, full-body network of connective tissue. The simple way to picture it is as a three-dimensional web running throughout your body, surrounding and connecting muscles, organs, nerves, blood vessels, and other structures. It is not literally a tent holding your skeleton together, but the tent is a useful image. Your body depends on relationships between tissues, tension, movement, and pressure. When you change the surface beneath your body, you change some of those mechanical relationships as well. A firm, supportive surface gives your body a relatively stable platform. A deeply conforming surface does something different. It allows certain areas to sink farther into the material. And that brings us to one of the most interesting materials in the modern bedroom: viscoelastic polyurethane foam, commonly known as memory foam. Memory foam has a fascinating history. The technology was developed through work associated with NASA in the 1960s, originally to improve cushioning and protection against the intense forces experienced during flight. It was later adapted for many civilian applications, including mattresses. But there is an important distinction here. The fact that a material was developed for aerospace cushioning does not mean it is harmful as a mattress. In fact, memory foam can be extremely useful. It can distribute pressure, reduce uncomfortable pressure points, and help some people sleep more comfortably. The question is not whether memory foam is good or bad. The question is what happens when a particular person's body sinks deeply into it for hours at a time. As memory foam responds to body heat and pressure, it gradually conforms around you. For many people, that contour feels wonderful. For others, especially people who have difficulty changing position, the same contour can make turning in bed more effort, and that matters more than most people realize. During sleep, we naturally change position. These movements help redistribute pressure across the body and prevent us from remaining in exactly the same position for hours. If your mattress makes those movements significantly harder, you may notice the difference when you wake. You might feel as though your body has been working instead of resting. Not because your muscles were performing a workout all night, but because changing position required more effort than you expected. This is also where the concept of shear force becomes relevant. Shear force simply describes a force acting parallel to a surface rather than directly into it. When different parts of your body sink into a mattress by different amounts, small horizontal forces can occur between your body and the material. That does not mean your spine is being slowly torn apart. It does not mean your mattress is destroying your discs. Those would be dramatic conclusions that the evidence does not justify. But for some people, excessive sinking may contribute to an uncomfortable sleeping position or make repositioning more difficult. And if you already wake with back discomfort, that difference may be worth paying attention to. There is another reason the ability to move matters. Think about how often you change position without even realizing it. You turn slightly, your shoulder shifts, your pelvis rolls, your knees move, your head changes position on the pillow. These tiny adjustments are part of normal sleep behavior. A mattress should not make every one of those movements feel like a wrestling match. This is why I want you to think about your mattress differently. Not as a medical device, not as an enemy, and not as a miracle cure. Think of it as part of your physical environment, just like the height of your chair, the firmness of the surface you sit on, the shoes you wear, the height of your kitchen counter, the steps you climb. All of these things change the mechanical demands placed on your body. And once you start thinking this way, you can make small changes without turning your life upside down. So here is another practical experiment. If your mattress feels excessively soft and you have difficulty turning, do not immediately spend $1,000 on a replacement. First, pay attention for several nights. Ask yourself 3 simple questions when you wake. Did I sleep comfortably? Could I change position easily? And how does my body feel during the first few minutes after getting out of bed? Do not judge the mattress by marketing language. Judge it by your actual experience. Now, if you want to experiment with slightly more surface firmness, there are gentle ways to test the idea before making a major purchase. One option is to add a thin, firm layer over the mattress. A tightly woven blanket or other appropriate mattress layer can change the feel of the surface slightly. But keep the change modest. You are not trying to turn your bed into a wooden board. You are simply testing whether a little less sinking feels better to your body. And remember, if a modification creates discomfort, numbness, pain, or makes getting in and out of bed less safe, stop. There is no prize for sleeping on the hardest surface. The goal is not hardness. The goal is appropriate support. That distinction becomes even more important when we look at another remarkable system, your proprioception. Proprioception is often described as your body's internal GPS. It is the ability of your nervous system to gather information about the position and movement of your body through signals from muscles, joints, skin, and other sensory systems. You use proprioception constantly without thinking about it. You know where your foot is when you take a step. You know where your hand is when you reach for a cup. You can close your eyes and still roughly sense whether your arm is above or below your shoulder. Your brain is continuously building a map of where your body is in space, and the surfaces around you can influence the sensory information your body receives. On a stable surface, pressure and contact can feel very distinct. On a deeply conforming surface, those pressure patterns can be distributed over a larger area. That does not mean your proprioception suddenly switches off. It does not mean your brain becomes blind, but the sensory experience is different. And for an aging body, paying attention to those differences can be useful because mobility is not controlled by muscles alone. It is a conversation between your brain, your sensory systems, your muscles, your joints, and the environment around you. That brings us to one of the most misunderstood ideas in this entire subject: Wolff's Law. Wolff's Law is the principle that bone tissue adapts to the mechanical loads placed upon it. It is an important concept, but it is also easy to misuse. Sleeping on a soft mattress does not mean your bones are suddenly losing density. The mechanical forces involved during sleep are simply too small to be compared with the loading your skeleton experiences while walking, climbing stairs, lifting, and moving during the day. That distinction matters. Your bones respond to the bigger picture of your lifestyle. If your days contain regular, appropriate movement, your skeleton receives meaningful mechanical signals. If your entire lifestyle becomes increasingly sedentary, fewer walks, fewer stairs, less lifting, less standing, and less natural movement, those changes matter far more than whether your mattress is soft or firm. So the lesson is not, buy the hardest mattress you can find. The lesson is, do not expect your mattress to do the work that daytime movement is supposed to do. A supportive bed can help you rest, but your waking hours are where most of your meaningful mechanical challenges happen. That is why I want you to think of your sleep environment as only one piece of a much larger mobility system. Your bed is one piece, your chair is another, your shoes are another, your walking habits are another, and the way you move through your home may be the most important piece of all. This also explains why we should be cautious about idealizing the way people lived in the past. Our ancestors did not have perfect joints. They did not have magical bones. They did not avoid pain simply because they slept on firmer surfaces. But many traditional environments naturally required more low-level movement. People walked more. They climbed more. They stood more. They carried ordinary objects. They changed positions frequently. And many communities built movement directly into daily life rather than separating it into a 1-hour workout. Consider the traditional Japanese tatami floor. Tatami is a fascinating example because it provides a surface that is firmer than a deeply cushioned mattress while still offering some give. It is not evidence that every person should sleep on a tatami mat, and it certainly is not a cure for stiffness. But it gives us an interesting physical comparison. A surface can be supportive without being rock hard. That is the principle worth remembering. When it eventually becomes time to replace your mattress, you do not need to search for the hardest option. Instead, look for a surface that provides enough support to keep you comfortable, allows you to change position without excessive effort, and does not leave you feeling as though you are sinking into a deep trench. For some people, a resilient material such as latex or a supportive wool construction may be worth considering. For others, a different mattress may work better. There is no universal winner. Your body is the final judge. And if you already have a mattress that lets you sleep comfortably, move easily, and wake feeling rest, there may be no reason to replace it simply because someone on the internet told you that firm is better. That is an important part of this message. I am not asking you to fear your mattress. I am asking you to become curious about your environment. If you wake every morning feeling stiff, notice what happens when you change one variable at a time. Perhaps the problem is your mattress. Perhaps it is your pillow. Perhaps it is your sleeping position. Perhaps it is simply how much movement you are getting during the day. Or perhaps several small factors are interacting. Change one thing, observe, give your body time, then decide. That approach is slower than buying a miracle product, but it is also much more honest. And it gives you something far more valuable than another piece of equipment. It gives you agency. You begin to understand that preserving mobility is not necessarily about fighting your age. It is about creating an environment in which your body can continue to move, adapt, and participate in everyday life. And that brings us to a much bigger question. What happens when you leave the bedroom? Because the same principle appears everywhere. Look at the chair you sit in for hours. Look at the remote control that lets you avoid standing. Look at the elevator that replaces a short flight of stairs. Look at the deep sofa that makes standing up a small physical project. Look at the car that takes you from the driveway to the grocery store entrance. None of these conveniences is automatically bad. That is not the point. The problem begins when convenience removes almost every small opportunity for movement from your day. Your body does not need punishment. It needs appropriate use. A few steps here, a little standing, carrying a light bag, walking to the mailbox, getting up from the chair, taking the stairs when they are safe for you, working in the garden without forcing your body beyond its limits. These small movements may seem insignificant, but together they create the mechanical conversation your body needs throughout the day. And this is where the story of the mattress becomes much bigger than the mattress itself. The real question is not, how hard should my bed be? The real question is, how much natural movement have I designed out of my life? That question can change everything, because you do not need to become an athlete at 65. You do not need to train like you are 25. You do not need to punish your joints to prove that you are still strong. You simply need to keep giving your body appropriate reasons to move. Your environment can either make that easier or make it harder. So tonight, when you get into bed, do something different. Do not think about whether your mattress is expensive. Do not think about whether it is marketed as orthopedic. Simply notice how your body feels. Can you change position easily? Do you feel supported? Do you wake up repeatedly because you cannot get comfortable? And most importantly, how do you feel when your feet first touch the floor in the morning? That observation is worth more than a marketing label, because preserving mobility begins with awareness. Then comes a small experiment, then another. And over time, those small choices can help you build a home that works with your aging body instead of constantly asking your body to adapt to the home. Your bedroom is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we are going to leave the mattress behind and look at something even more powerful. The hidden ways modern convenience may be reducing the amount of healthy movement built into your ordinary day. Because the most important mobility tool in your home may not be a mattress, a chair, or an exercise machine. It may simply be the path you take from one room to another. And once you see that path differently, you may never look at your home in quite the same way again.